my channel. Today I'm going to be doing what is hopefully going to be a short, easy video, which is a book haul for books I acquired in November and December of last year. In total, over the 2 months, I acquired 16 books, and let's just go through them. So first off, I have 3 books that I picked up at a used bookstore in the town where my in-laws live. First is one that I have already read. This is Just One Damn Thing After Another, The Chronicles of St. Mary's by Jodi Taylor. I just talked about this in my January wrap-up, which should be live right before this video, unless I decide to film something else in between. A lot can happen in a week and a half. But yeah, this is I describe it as Doctor Who meets the Umbrella Academy. Sarcastic, irreverent, chaotic characters and time travel shenanigans. Then we have Why Fish Don't Exist, a story of loss, love, and the hidden order of life by Lulu Miller. I think this cover design is lovely. This is a memoir, I believe. Why Fish Don't Exist is a dark and astonishing tale of love, scientific obsession, chaos, and possibly even murder. I didn't even realize that it was full of so many things. This is a nonfiction that intrigued me when I heard about ABookOlive talk about. She's a channel who talks a lot about nonfiction books. She's also a professional reviewer, so her like monthly wrap-ups and stuff are like very thorough. Like you get a really good idea of like what the book is about and whether or not it's something that would suit you, not just in plot but also like in writing style and everything. So I think her quality of reviews is very thorough and wonderful. And the way she talked about this book, I think this is like one of her favorite. It's just like one of her favorite nonfiction of all time, or it was like one of her favorites of a year or something, but it sounded quite interesting, so I saw it in the used bookstore and grabbed it. And then I've got The Shock Doctrine, The Rise of Disaster Capitalism by Naomi Klein. So I read Naomi Klein's This Changes Everything fairly recently, like towards the end of last year. And that one is about like capitalism and climate change and climate disaster, and it was very thorough. Like her work she's a very, very thorough investigative journalist, and I initially I think was intrigued by the Shock Doctrine, but I picked up that copy first. But this is about the economic business model that moves into regions, cities, in the wake of environmental disaster, and kind of really takes advantage of displaced people, desperate people, and let's see, is there like a little blurb in here? She has a listing of like several events, including like New Orleans residents still scattered from Hurricane Katrina discover that their public housing, hospitals, and schools will never be reopened. These events are examples of what Naomi Klein calls the shock doctrine, the use of public disorientation following massive collective shocks, such as wars, terrorist attacks, or natural disasters, to push through highly unpopular economic shock therapy. It sounds interesting, and I've already been impressed and intrigued by the quality of her research, like how much information so there's like a lot of statistics and a lot of like talking to actual people, but also like the way that she ties these things together and kind of traces you know, how the passing of this one law then has all of these ripple effects in our society. That's what I saw in reading This Changes Everything, so I am excited to see this, and I'm trying not to blind you with how reflective the cover is. So yes, I am prepared to be very angry and then very informed. Oh, I think also in that book haul I picked up The Genius of Birds by Jennifer Ackerman. This is another nonfiction that I got on my radar because of ABookOlive, but I picked this up kind of because I want to see if it's something my dad would like. He's gotten really into birds and bird watching. He's planted a lot of native plants in his backyard over the year, and then now that he has a bird feeder, he just sees all kinds of birds. They've got hummingbirds like all year round. He's just gotten into being able to identify birds and like figure out how to like create, you know, a habitat in his backyard that is, you know, good for cultivating native birds. And I think this was also something I was interested in the wake of reading Braiding Sweetgrass, which was like, okay, in addition to like social political history and analysis and space nonfiction, I've also kind of have a burgeoning interest in like nature nonfiction. There's a blurb here. Birds are astonishingly intelligent creatures. According to revolutionary new research, some birds rival primates and even humans in their remarkable forms of intelligence. In The Genius of Birds, acclaimed author Jennifer Ackerman explores their newly discovered brilliance and how it came about. She not only tells the story of the recently uncovered genius of birds, but also delves deeply into the latest findings about the bird brain itself that are shifting our views of what it means to be intelligent. Like, genuinely, I find that interesting, but also my dad's hard to shop for, especially like with books, because it's like, I think of a book that I think he would like, and guess what? He's already bought it and read it or something. So I think I'm going to enjoy this, and after I finally get around to reading it, hopefully before Christmas of next year, I'll decide whether, you know, do I give him this copy? Do I buy him a Kindle edition? We'll see. Okay, then next, another book that I've already read. I picked up an ebook copy of A Lady of Brooksgrave Manor. This is a like erotica monster romance that has a reverse harem. So it is a young woman who ends up working at this gentleman's manor that caters to clients of various non-human aspects. It was delightful. Very explicit, but also, like, you know, she learns a lot about the nature of intimacy beyond just sex, and it's very interesting to see the way that, like, this little found family is very protective of each other. And I think the next book in the series has come out recently, or is coming out this year. It's called The Company of Fiends, and follows characters from the erotic performing art troupe that is featured in a chapter or two in the first book. So great. Next book I picked up, I found this kind of vintage. I found this copy of Assassin's Apprentice, I guess book 1 in the Far series by Robin Hobb. I've never read any Robin Hobb, and I found a used copy of this at like the big indie bookstore that I like to go to. So I figured, you know, as I start to kind of dip my toes into like the big fantasy names that people refer to as being kind of like iconic touchstones in the genre, definitely want to read the women authors in that genre who have left their mark. We'll see when I get around to it, because I have a lot of books I want to read, and hopefully I actually finish some series this year instead of just continuing to start new ones, but hopefully this will be a series that I enjoy when I get to it. And yay, another book I've already read. I actually had already read this before I bought this. This is A Hero Born, book 1 of Legends of the Condor by Jin Young. I am currently on book 3 of the series. This is at least the English translation is a 4-book series, and it's one of the most famous fantasy series to come out of China. It was written in the 50s, and I will say, like, for something written in the 50s, holy fuck, I fucking love the way that the female characters are written. They are badass, they are clever, they are allowed to be unlikable, and yet you kind of like, they're allowed to be villains, they're allowed to be unlikable, and that is such a small part of this very epic martial arts fantasy. So I've talked about this before. I purchased a physical copy because I had acquired book 2, and then I wanted to reread this so I could get back into reading the series. Currently in book 3, and when I talk about what I got in December, I got book 4. Great. Okay, and I think when I picked up A Hero Born, I found a used copy of Detransition Baby by Tori Peters. This is I think, literary fiction or contemporary fiction novel that I've seen a lot of buzz about, and I was very excited to find a secondhand copy. Let's see, a whip-smart debut about 3 women, transgender and cisgender, whose lives collide after an unexpected pregnancy forces them to confront their deepest desires. So I definitely want to read more books that feature non-heteronormative and non-cisgender characters and experiences, and the premise of this one sounded really interesting. Hopefully I enjoy it, because because like contemporary fiction is really not something that usually catches my attention, but so I think I'll enjoy it, and hopefully I really enjoy it. Okay. Then the last book I acquired in November was the ebook of Morning Glory Milking Farm. I've already read. This is another erotic fiction. I don't know, holidays were getting to be real stressful, and I just needed very escapist things that were going to put me in a good mood, and romance is great for that. But this one also turned out to be really sweet. I picked up this one, I think, because I saw, what is her channel name? BooksLikeWhoa. But this follows a millennial who takes an unconventional job at Morning Glory Milking Farm, and then in addition to a budding romance with one of her regular clients, there's a lot of discussion here about, like, oh my god, the financial freedom, like the freedom and stress relief of having a job that fucking pays you what you're worth, and maybe we should be less judgmental of the types of jobs that people have to take, because just like the ability to have choices in your life once you don't have to worry about where you're, like, whether or not you're going to be able to pay the rent that month. Just, I don't know, that's not like very much the focus of the book, but that is a bit of, like, the heart of the book. All right, getting into December. All of these are gifts. How good that I did not buy any books in December, because I knew I was going to be getting books as gifts, just because, like, looking at, like, I'm hard to shop for. What do you want? Make a wish list. I'm like, here's a list of, like, 12 books and some gift cards and, like, 1 or 2 other non-book things. Because, like, I don't want things. I don't want things. I want gift cards and books. Great. Okay, so the first book that I got, this was given to me by my fiance. We are officially, like, a week out from the wedding. I'm so ready. I'm so ready for the wedding to happen and be done. Anyway, so the book he got me was The Disordered Cosmos, A Journey into Dark Matter, Space, Time, and Dreams Deferred by Chanda Prescott Weinstein. This is a nonfiction. Let's see, from a star theoretical physicist, a journey into the world of particle physics and the cosmos, and a call for a more liberatory practice of science. So I definitely wanted to read more space-focused space-focused nonfiction written by women or non-cis men. Anyway, but the fact that, like, this author also, you know, brings, like, her race and gender experience into the story of, like, her experience of being an, what is she? Theoretical physicist. The grammar of that sentence did not make any sense. I'm sorry. But yeah, this sounded like the perfect like middle point of like the social justice nonfiction that I like, and then like the space nonfiction that I like, and I feel like this is a wonderful joining of those two favorite subjects. So I expect to be frustrated and unsurprised by a lot of her experience, but then also learn a lot about space and theoretical physics. Hopefully I can understand it. It'll be great. Okay, my mother got me these two beautiful books. First, we've got The Last Quintista by Donna Barbara Higuera. When I had first seen this in a bookstore, I had not heard anybody talking about it. The cover absolutely drew me in, and then the synopsis was very interesting. Since then, since receiving a copy, I have seen a few people who have read it or acquired a copy recently and have put it in a book haul or a TBR. Let's see, so what is the premise of this? Había una vez, once upon a time, a girl named Petra Peña who wanted nothing more than to be a storyteller like her abuelita. But Petra's world is ending. Earth has been destroyed by a comet, and only a few hundred scientists and their children, among them Petra and her family, have been chosen to journey to a new planet. They are the ones who must carry on the human race. Hundreds of years later, Petra wakes to this new planet and the discovery that she is the only person who remembers Earth. A sinister collective has taken over the ship during its journey, bent on erasing the sins of humanity's past. They have systematically purged the memories of all aboard, or purged them altogether. Petra alone now carries the stories of our past, and with them any hope for our future. Can she make them live again? So yeah. I mean, bilingual storytelling, the importance of storytelling, also science fiction, wonderful. And actually this reminds me a little bit of like the importance of like memory and storytelling of The Deep, written by River Solomon, which transitions to the other book I got, which was this autographed copy of Sorrowland by River Solomon. My mom, like, she knows nothing about like these books. This is not a genre she reads at all, but she went to the bookstore and said, okay, I'm looking for these books. And they're like, oh my god, an autograph copy. Yeah, you need to get her this one. I'm like, yes, I'm quite excited for this. So this is one that lots of people have talked about. River Solomon's pretty popular, but let's go over the synopses. And I'm just gonna like, if they have a blurb in there that's actually a synopsis and not just like a bunch of reviews, I'm just gonna read that because that's going to explain things way better than my improvisational brain ever could. Vern, 7 months pregnant and desperate to escape the strict religious compound where she was raised, flees for the shelter of the woods. There she gives birth to twins and plans to raise them far from the influence of the outside world. But even in the forest, Vern is a hunted woman. Forced to fight back against the community that refuses to let her go, she unleashes incredible brutality far beyond what a person should be capable of, her body racked by inexplicable and uncanny changes. To understand her metamorphosis and to protect her small family, Vern has to face the past and, more troubling, the future, outside the woods. Finding the truth will mean uncovering not only the secrets of the compound she fled, but also the violent history of America that produced it. River Solomon's Sorrowland is a genre-bending work of gothic fiction. Here, monsters aren't just individuals, but entire nations. This is a searing, seminal book that marks the arrival of a bold, unignorable voice of American fiction. I feel like River Solomon is going to become one of my favorite authors. I've definitely heard that this is, in terms of like, also is very, has a lot of horror elements, is very horror adjacent, so hopefully I'm not like too grossed out by it. I think it's going to be delicious. The last three are from my brother and sister-in-law. Did they get me this one too? I don't remember, I'm sorry. Anyway, but this is a very anticipated book. This is Seal and Eleanor by Garth Nix. This is a prequel to Sabriel, which is one of my favorite fantasy novels of all time. A lot of that's the nostalgia factor of the age in which I read it. That was a book that I found at a Scholastic book fair, and I picked up because it had a blurb from Philip Pullman, and I had recently read The Golden Compass and loved it. This is a book that follows Seal and Eleanor, which are Cybriel's parents. Is that true? Yes. So I have moderate hopes for this, because I think the other most recent book in the series, Golden Hand, I did not like. That one felt like a cash grab. It felt very rushed. It felt unfinished. So as long as this is better than that one, I'll be fine. I also love that they have kind of returned to, in the vein of like the original cover style, compared to, they were doing like this symbol style of cover for a while in the series. But I have always just really loved the detail in the original cover. So now we're going to deal with messy books there for the rest of the video. It's fine. Anyway, so I don't know if the blurb is going to really tell you what it's about if you haven't read the original trilogy, but here we go. Terciel has spent most of his life with his great aunt, the Aborson Tizanael, training in their art of uncommon necromancy, using their magical bells to ensure the dead stay dead. It will be Terciel's job to take up the mantle of Aborson from Tizanael one hopefully far distant day, to maintain the border between life and death. But an ancient enemy has awoken, and Terciel might be tested as the Aborson all too soon. Eleanor has never heard of the charter magic or the dead, until a terrifying creature rises in her family home. Now that's interesting, because that tells me that Eleanor might be from beyond the wall. Because otherwise, how would you never have heard of the charter? Seemingly swept in by the north wind, a mysterious young man and his great-aunt arrive to help her and unwittingly set her on a path to discover a magical heritage she didn't even know she had. Her quest will take her to the Old Kingdom. Okay, yeah, so she's not from the Old Kingdom. Interesting. And Terciel, let's see, and embroil her in the endless struggle of the abortions against the dead who will not stay dead. Okay. Well, at least plot-wise, there's already some elements that I find interesting. Because, like, we know quite a bit about Terciel, Sabriel's father, just from, like, the other books in the series, but we really don't know anything about her mother. So, I'm intrigued. Hooray! I'm excited. Great. Moderating excitement. Okay, so next I have The Sister Who Ate Her Brothers and Other Gruesome Tales by Jen Campbell, illustrated by Adam D'Souza. Jen Campbell is actually a YouTube content creator that I follow. She is a disabled writer. She does a lot of book reviews, a lot of book hauls. So she does a lot of like disability advocacy in terms of like the books she reads and reviews, and like she has like a very lovely feels weird, a very like elegant critical lens when she talks about specifically like the representation of disability and ableism in books. And then she's also an author, and she's very intrigued by fairy tales. So these are like her retellings of 14 of the most chilling fairy tales from around the world, retold in the spine-tingling style their creators intended. Let's see, in her little introductory blurb, she says, "I adore stories, particularly the gruesome ones. There was a time long ago when these brilliant, horrible tales were known far and wide, but then people changed them. They gave them happily ever afters, where nothing really awful happened, and, well, a lot of them became boring." So I guess this is her take on revitalizing and bringing into the common lexicon of gruesome fairy tales. So I love it. And I know she's written like a couple other things, and I look forward to exploring more of her works, and also like her channel is great. She reads, it's interesting because like she reads a lot of like literary and contemporary fiction, which are not genres that I really like, but like the ones that she also reads like a lot of thrillers, a lot of like mystery thrillers, which again is like another genre that I don't read a lot of, but the ones that she picks up, they sound very interesting to me. So I've gotten a lot of, you know, book recommendations from her of things that I would like to check out, or like if I do pick up something in this genre, maybe that one is the one I would pick up. So yeah, she's great. Okay. Next I have All's Well by Mona Awad, from the author of Bunny of the infamous Exploding Heads. I have not read Bunny, but this one in particular drew me in because it revolves around a drama teacher, and I work in theater, and so okay, that already got my attention. Also, like this cover, these are pills. This cover is fantastic. Okay, so this synopsis. Miranda Fitch's life is a waking nightmare. The accident that ended her burgeoning acting career left her with excruciating chronic pain, a failed marriage, and a deepening dependence on painkillers. And now she's on the verge of losing her job as a college theater director. Determined to put on Shakespeare's All's Well That Ends Well, the play that promised and cost her everything, she faces a mutinous cast hell-bent on staging Macbeth instead. Macbeth is my favorite Shakespeare. I'm not like a huge Shakespeare fan, which is kind of sacrilegious to say as a theater person, but like Macbeth has my attention. Okay. Her mutinous cast. Miranda sees her chance at redemption slip through her fingers. That's when she meets three strange benefactors who have an eerie knowledge of Miranda's past and a tantalizing promise for her future. One where the show goes on, her rebellious students get what's coming to them, and the invisible doubted pain that's kept her from the spotlight is made known. And the invisible doubted pain that's kept her from the spotlight is made known. So, okay. Theater aspect, Macbeth aspects, especially like those three strangers in there. And also like woman dealing with chronic pain. And like that whole element in there, I feel like I'm very intrigued by this. So... And then the last book I acquired in December was A Heart Divided, book 4 of Legends of the Condor. It was funny, I owned book 1 and book 2, and then I received book 4, and then purchased book 3 in like January or something. So yeah, this is the 4th book in the Legends of the Condor series, and I don't know how well you're going to be able to tell from book 1 and book 4, but the spines have this like dragon figure that like swirls across all 4 books. So that's a lovely little design detail. Also on this one we've got Lady with a Knife. Gotta love it. I'm not gonna read the blurb because it's the 4th book, so it's gonna reference a bunch of things that don't make sense and then also maybe spoil things. But it's this epic martial arts fantasy that... when does it take place? Oh, here we go. China, 12,080. So we've got... we talk about like the Han Chinese and the Jurchens and the Song Dynasty and the Mongols, but like right before Genghis Khan becomes Genghis Khan, it's like when he's still, when his father is still in power, and we're mostly following this character named Guo Jing, who is not very bright, but very pure of heart, as he trains under various martial arts masters and, helps save the destiny of China and finds love and all these things. It's a ride. Yeah, and I'm enjoying it. It's very different from a lot of narrative styles that I'm used to. I definitely found that at least reading parts of the book on audiobook helped a lot because there's a lot of characters and the names are not pronounced the way that I would assume. And but like I need like a combination because some of them sound similar but are spelled very different. And some of them are spelled in ways that sound very different. Yeah, the audiobook helps a lot with names and also like you'll kind of really get the personality of the characters in the voices that the narrator does. I think it's not my most favorite narrator everywhere. Like, this isn't the most dynamic narrator I've ever listened to, but I do think when he does do character voices, they are distinct, and he, like, you know, when you have, like, more of a serious evil character versus, like, a more, like, yeah, trickster kind of mischievous character, like he does have a very good distinction between like the personality of the voices, and I think that really helps to distinguish this cast of like 30 fucking characters that sometimes you will encounter all of them within like 2 chapters. That's something I'm going through in the 3rd book right now. It's like, oh my god, there's so many characters passing through this cabin right now. Anyway, we'll hopefully finish off this series soon. And then I will have finished a series. Hooray! Alright, that's it. That's the video. You're a champ. If you have made it to the end of the video, please leave me a bird emoji. Great. Alright, so I hope you have a good rest of your day. I encourage you to go out into the world and be curious. I will have my social media and other places where you can find me in the description box below. And if you are still here, you're a champ, and you are going to be rewarded with a couple of bloopers. Enjoy! Purple. I've got so much lipstick on my teeth. Stand by. Sassy, irreverent, sarcastic, irreverent twice. Books that book talk made me read or something. Made me read. Grammar. What did I just say? Well, I thought this was going to be a quick video, and here we are with more than 40 minutes words.